Hello friends, I welcome you all to this online session of a special English poetry paper. In the last few sessions, we were discussing about Victorian era and we have also started discussing the major contributors of Victorian poetry. While discussing major contributors of Victorian poetry, we have already discussed Alfred Lord Tennyson, which is one of the most important or the representative poet of the period, who is also a poet laureate in this particular period. So he is a very and he explored almost all the tendencies, attitudes of Victorian era as the themes of his poetry. So we have discussed it in detail because we are also supposed to learn one of his most significant poet, seminal poet. You can say the Lady Charlotte. So for that purpose, we learn it in very detail. Otherwise, we are only supposed to learn major contributors of Victorian poetry because we are supposed to read a module that is a or a background topic that is a Victorian poets. So we are concerned with major Victorian poets. So from this session onward, we will begin with another significant poet uh, of this period is a Robert Browning. So what we are supposed to learn under this sub unit or subtopic of the Victorian poets. So we are supposed to learn appreciate the distinctive qualities of Browning's poetry and art. As I told you while discussing about Tennyson, that though we are categorizing certain poets or group of poets under a literary categorization or literary category, you can understand that every poet carries a specific characteristics or a distinct quality. So as we discuss Alfred Lord Tennyson, you can see his balance between science and faith is unique in his time. Or you can see his medievalism is also unique in his time. So all these things make him unique and make him stand different from the tradition. But at the same time, you can see most of his literary works represent or responded to the socio-cultural milieu of Victorian poetry. And as a result of that, we were categorizing it under the rubric that is a Victorian poetry. And when we are thinking about Robert Browning, you can see Robert Browning also has a distinctive qualities. But most of his poetry also contribute in making of a literary corpus that is essentially called as a Victorian literature. And therefore, we are supposed to learn or appreciate the distinctive qualities of Browning's poetry and art. The second important objectives of this subunit, why we should learn, why we should read about Browning is that understand a dramatic monologue which Browning exploited to portray the tensions within a character's psyche. So this is what Browning is important because of his invention of a dramatic monologue or his unique use of, instead of that you can say unique use of a dramatic monologue to portray the tensions within a character's psyche. What we learn afterwards in modernism and postmodernism, you can see there are the literary trends like realism and naturalism, where we were realism is a photographic representation. However, the naturalism is a sonographic representation. Beyond the scheme we can see with the naturalism. So this is the beginning, this going into the psyche of the character or treating thinking about his thoughts started uh, very significantly by Robert Browning by using a dramatic monologue. Then understand the difference between Tennyson and Browning, the poet who were products of the same age. Of course, as I told you, so there are certain differences in every poets. every poet. So we are supposed to learn these things. So let us start with Robert Browning. See, Robert Browning was only 3 years younger than Tennyson. Of course, yes, Tennyson is elder and Browning is 3 years younger to him. And yet, the differences between the two poets are so big that they seem to be writing in two different ages. Of course, yes, you can see. Tennyson, as I told you, Victorian poetry is in fact a transition period, transition from romantic period to a modern period. And we can observe the tendencies that were reflected in a romantic poetry and the poetry, the characteristic features that were reflected in modern poetry. So, Victorian poetry carries both these things. Modern poetry, you can see it is a it strongly affiliate itself to a stark realism, or you can see a scientific methodology of thought is adopted by the poets. However, in romantic poetry, you can see the poet is moving into or taking the flights of a dream or taking the flights of imagination to have or grab a dream-like vision, and he is exploring it into the in his poetry. So this is the difference between these two era, that is the romantic era and modern era. And when we think about this Victorian period, which is in between the or which is a link between the romantic poet or the poetry written from Elizabethan period to the romantic poetry and poetry produced after modernism or in modernism and after modernism. So this period is a period of a transition, and as a result of that we can see the tendencies of a romantic poetry, medievalism and all these things we have already read, and the modern poetry, realism, scientific thinking and all these things. So there are certain poets who were affiliating themselves with either with certain tendencies that goes with the transition, and few of them were the poets who stands different from the tradition and shows that they were writing in something in a different age. So, but we must understand that both these poets were representing the same age, and therefore we can understand, we can observe the biggest difference between two poets, that is a Tennyson and Browning. So let us read. Tennyson, you must have seen, is a basically an emotional poet, responding to the beauty and pain of life, which is also a tendency of a romantic poet. His involvement with the polemics of his time was also deep. He was as much concerned with the politics of democracy as with the scientific researches of his time that had begun to instill doubts in the minds of the people. Of course, yes, as we have all read all these things when we were discussing about Tennyson. So this is what Tennyson is depicting. Politics of democracy. We have learned the two parties and how one or two houses, how one is elected by the people and how one is appointed by the monarch, and all these things we have already learned while discussing about the politics of Victorian poetry. So all this Tennyson is associated with all these things, and as a result of this, all these things are depicted in his poetry. They appears as a major themes in his poetry. So it also depicts the doubts regarding the religion. At the same time, it also affiliate himself with the science, and it at the same time you can see that this is the contradictory kind of sentences, that the poet Tennyson is affiliating himself or observing the scientific innovations, and at the same time he is also making a balance between faith and religion, sorry, faith and reason. So this is what a contradictory tendency we can find, especially when we were reading a poet who is representing a literature that is produced in a transition period. So this is what a Tennyson. See, Robert Browning concerns were never so comprehensive, and intense personal life made him inclined to study characters belonging to aristocracy, the priestly and the artistic classes, in whom he noticed contradictions and paradoxes, but also a gist of life. So this is what he is concerned with. So Tennyson is more related with the emotions of the people. He is more related with a politics of a democracy. However, when we think about a Browning, Browning is belonging to aristocracy, the priestly and artistic classes, and as a result of that, he explores the contradictions and paradoxes he observes in these classes. But at the same time, he also explore a gist for life. So this is what the difference between Tennyson and Browning. Then he wrote a few lyrics in which you will notice the argumentative tone of John Donne. You understand? Metaphysical poet. We have already learned metaphysical poetry in the fifth semester. In that you can see poet is using an argumentative tone. That what he is doing, he is making an argument and prove it into his poem. So similar kind of argumentative tone can be observed in Robert Browning's poetry. And this is again when we are thinking about metaphysical poetry, we have learned that metaphysical poetry is a product of a highly learned poets, and they were adapting scientific methodology, they were adapting the realism or stark realism, you can see. For example, the compass, you can see we have read this John Donne's poem Compass, in which he is comparing two lovers with the two legs of a compass. So or he is using a medical terminology in his poetry. So that is a scientific one. He is exploring the new knowledge that he has gained in his through his reading. Similar thing is happening with Robert Browning. When we think about Robert Browning, he is also doing the same thing, argumentative tone he is using, because this is the influence of a scientific innovations on him. But he is chiefly famous for his dramatic monologue, a few too long to be read in one sitting. So this is what you can see he is famous for, Robert Browning. So Robert Browning is the pioneer of a dramatic monologue in a Victorian poetry. He uses it in such a significant way that it afterwards becomes a trend in the Victorian poetry or trend in a modernism and postmodernism. The poets are generally about Italian figures from different classes of the society. Their passions, adventures, and tensions create a lot of interest. They do touch upon issues of morality and psychology. But Browning takes them in this stride and does not let us feel disturbed. This cheerful spirit of Browning has endeared him to modern poets, though his poems are considered to be difficult on account of wide ranging of allusions. So this is what you can see. The last sentence is very important. This cheerful spirit of Browning has endeared him to modern poets, though his poems are considered to be difficult on account of wide-ranging allusions. So this is what you can see is the two different tendencies, tendency of a Tennyson and tendency of a Browning, and both these tendencies were present in a Victorian era. So this is what the short introduction of this Robert Browning. That Robert Browning's life and work. See, Robert Browning was born in 1812. So his father worked in the Bank of England and was a man of literary interests. Similarly, you can see uh, Tennyson's father was a rector. His Robert Browning's father was a uh, employee of a Bank of England. So he both these poets enjoy a very sound childhood in their life. Uh, so he had a vast collection of. His father, Robert Browning's father, had a vast collection of books in his personal library. that also influences Robert Browning. So Robert Browning's mother was a nice musician. So his mother was also a nice musician. So he has a heritage of an art. Uh, he gets influenced at home at the very early age due to a vast library of his father and the musical aptitude of his mother. So it was natural for Robert Browning to be interested in literature and music. So afterwards, you can see due to this things in a house, he becomes interested in literature and music. Before he entered University College London, he had acquired proficiency in French, Italian, Greek, and Latin. You can understand that he has learned French, Italian, Greek, Latin, four languages, especially Greek and Latin. You can see are the ancient languages, and French and Italian languages represent the cultural culture. So because these two countries, French and Italy, were seen as a very cultured nations at that particular time. So he has learned languages like French, Italian, Greek, Latin, and of course English, his mother tongue. However, he left the college without a degree. Similarly to the Tennyson in 1831 left his college without his degree because his father's sad demise. He also left without a college degree. In his youth, Browning was greatly influenced by Shelley. So Shelley is a romantic poet. We have learned it in a romanticism when we are discussing in a semester fifth. So his poetry, his atheism, he did not remain an atheist for a long, but he continued to be a radical like a Shelley. So what do we mean by atheism? Atheism means Nastic, who rejected God. That is atheism. So he is under the influence of a Shelley due to his atheism. So he did not remain atheist for a long, but he continued to be radical like Shelley. So radicalism is also one of the characteristic of a Robert Browning. Then Shelley in 1845, uh, sorry, in 1845, Browning met Elizabeth Barrett in London. When her father objected to his marriage, they eloped to Italy, the country that fascinated Browning, and they get married. So Elizabeth Barrett Browning is also uh, was also a very significant poetess of this period. So Browning had started writing quite early. So his first published work was a long poem, Pauline, in which he tried to imitate Shelley's style. So under the influence of Shelley, he was writing. So his early book shows the tendencies that were reflected in a Shelley. Shelley's style he has adapted. See, he attracted critical attention by men and women in 1855. The Ring and the Book, sorry, attention by men and women. So he painted men and women, and it get he get the critical attention for it. The Ring and the Book is ambitious poem of his, in which he justified the ways of God through extended blank verse monologue. So this is also a very significant poem, that is The Ring and the Book. So these were greatly admired by Ezra Pound and T.S. Eliot. So as I told you, this Robert Browning is also influential for the modern poets like Ezra Pound and T.S. Eliot. So because he shows the tendencies of the modern poet. If you start digging the roots of modern poetry, you will understand that you will get the roots in Robert Browning's poetry. So his dramatic monologues portray a great variety of characters speaking to a silent listener about themselves at some important moment in their lives. Of course, yes, you can. We will also see a video on dramatic monologue. It is not actually what they say that is important. More important are the things which they do not speak or directly, but which are relieved through their tone and the implications of what they think and do. So this is what he is thinking or he is exploring by using a dramatic monologue. What Robert Browning is doing, Robert Browning is going beyond the words. He is transferring, he is transmitting a message that cannot be captured in the words but that can be captured in the tone. So Robert Browning, by using such a kind of a tone for his dramatic monologues, uh, explores implied meaning which is not in the words but it is between the words. So this is what one of the distinctness of Robert Browning. Then Browning died in 1889 and was buried in Westminster Abbey. So this is a short introduction of life and work of a Robert Browning. We will read his major works like Pauline in 1833, Paracelsus 1835, Men and Women 1855, Dramatic Persona 1864, The Ring and the Book 1869, Asolando 1889. So these are his major books. So we will stop here and continue the same in the next period. We will go with another Victorian poet. So we will stop here. Thank you for listening.